Welcome to the deep dive. Today we're going to dive deep into the world of a ruler who went toe-to-toe with the Mughal Empire,
Right.
Chhatrapati Sambhaji Maharaj. And the cool thing is our main source is actually a review of the movie CHHAAVA. So we're not just talking history, but how this epic story is being told today, for modern audiences.
That's what's so fascinating about this. The movie review, it's like a gateway to this really complex history. It makes us think about how we view a figure like Sambhaji Maharaj today, especially since, well, he kind of inherited this world of conflict from his father, the legendary Chhatrapati Shivaji Maharaj.
Right, and it's almost like after Shivaji's death, the Mughals thought, okay, this is our chance. But they were so wrong. To really grasp how badly they miscalculated, we got to
Wow.
zoom out a bit for context.
Yeah, the Mughal Empire at that time, it was this massive force. I mean, just imagine this huge, complex system controlling so much land across India. Their military was a force to be reckoned with.
Mm.
And the Deccan Plateau, where the Maratha Empire was, that was a strategic goldmine for the Mughals.
Right, it wasn't just about resources either.
Not at all. Controlling the Deccan meant controlling key trade routes.
Sure.
You could exert political power and influence all these different cultures that were flourishing there.
So Sambhaji walks into this pressure cooker. The review talks about his 9-year reign as this constant struggle against the Mughals. It highlights his proactive military strategies, almost audacious. And they mention his invasion of Burhanpur, which wasn't just some random town, was it?
No, no, no. Burhanpur was a major Mughal hub. Invading it was a huge risk. I mean, think about disrupting their trade, maybe even capturing all that wealth, striking fear right into the heart of the empire. It was a power move, and it shows Sambhaji's strategic thinking. He went beyond just defending. He wanted to hit them where it hurt.
Okay, so we see a ruler who's not backing down. But the review also focuses on his capture at Sangameshwar, noting that it was because of a betrayal. And even then, he chooses death over surrendering to the Mughal Emperor Aurangzeb.
Wow. Yeah, his refusal to give in, even when he was facing execution, adds a whole other layer to his story. It goes beyond politics and becomes this statement of defiance, embodying everything he fought for. And it really connects with Shivaji's legacy and the whole spirit of resistance in the Maratha culture.
Now, about the movie itself, CHHAAVA, based on a novel by Shivaji Sawant, the review makes it sound like the director, Laxman Utekar, really went all out to create this immersive visual experience. It's not like your typical historical documentary. It's more like a cinematic spectacle, right?
Yeah, historical filmmaking, it's this constant back and forth between accuracy and, artistic interpretation,
Mm.
trying to capture the nuances of a past era while making a story that modern audiences will connect with. It's a tough balance. And it
Okay.
sounds like CHHAAVA is trying to do just that,
Right.
which is interesting in itself.
And from what I'm reading, Vicky Kaushal, who plays Sampaji, he's a big part of that success. The review uses words like intense and saying he just owns the role, which makes me think he really embodies the character.
Casting in historical films is so important. When an actor doesn't just look like the person, but really captures their inner world, their motivations, their struggles, it creates this deeper connection for the viewers.
The review also mentions a great supporting cast, Akshaya Khanna as Aurangzeb, Vineet Kumar Singh as the poet Kavi Kailash, and Divya Dutta as Maharani Soyarabai, although they wish she'd had a bigger role.
It's always cool to see how different actors interpret these historical figures, especially complex ones like Aurangzeb. There's a tendency to oversimplify history into good guys and bad guys, but it's way more complicated than that. So these performances can make us re-examine how we view these people.
And of course, we can't talk about Bollywood without talking about the music. CHHAAVA features music by the one and only A.R. Rahman, but the review says it's a bit of a mixed bag. While they praise the war cry Aare Tufan as epic, the rest of the soundtrack doesn't quite fit the historical setting.
Music can make or break a film's emotional impact.
Right.
It sets the tone, builds the tension, and brings out all these emotions. When it works perfectly with the visuals and story, it creates a truly immersive experience.
Okay, but wait, there's more. The review saves the best for last, describing the climax as cinematic gold. The last 30 minutes are apparently packed with action-intense dialogue and this powerful delivery of Sambhaji's final words.
A good climax can leave a lasting impression on you. It can leave you with a sense of awe or even make you think about things long after it's over. It's where everything comes together, the emotions and the story.
Before we get to the final verdict and the bigger meaning of Sambhaji Maharaj's story, let's pause for a sec. What stands out to you so far about him and how the movie seems to be portraying him?
You know what strikes me is how Sambhaji resisted this empire as huge as the Mughals. It really makes you think about his personality, his strategic mind, and what drove him to fight so relentlessly for independence. What about you? What resonates most with you about his story so far?
Honestly, I'm right there with you. It's that unshakable defiance, the refusal to back down even when everything's against him. It's just captivating. It makes you want to understand him better. Like, what were his calculations? What impact did he have on the Maratha Empire? And luckily for us, we have a lot more to unpack in part 2 of our deep dive, so stay tuned.
Welcome back to our exploration of Chhatrapati Sambhaji Maharaj, where we're using this movie review of CHHAAVA to, unlock a deeper understanding of him.
Yeah, picking up where we left off, I'm really curious what the final verdict on the movie is. Does the review recommend it, even with the music not quite hitting the mark?
Well, it doesn't call it a perfect film,
Hmm.
but it does stress how powerful the story is. It sounds like CHHAAVA might have some flaws, but the weight of Sambhaji Maharaj's life, his struggles, it really comes through.
That makes me think about how certain stories just need to be told, no matter what. It speaks to how impactful figures like Sambhaji Maharaj really were.
Definitely. Their struggles, their victories, even their failures, they echo through time. But it's important to remember that people like Sambhaji weren't just warriors or symbols of defiance. They were leaders dealing with all the complexities of governing and administration. And the review focuses a lot on the military side of things. What about Sambhaji's reign beyond the battlefield?
That's a really good point. The movie is probably just one piece of a much bigger story. So let's shift gears and look at Sambhaji's reign as a whole. What were some of the big challenges he faced apart from the constant conflict with the Mughals?
Imagine taking on the leadership role after someone like Shivaji, who basically created a new path, a new identity for the Maratha people. Sambhaji had to secure those gains, keep this diverse group of warriors and chieftains united, and navigate this web of alliances and rivalries in the Deccan, all while this massive Mughal army was breathing down his neck.
That's a lot to handle. It makes his resistance against Aurangzeb seem even more impressive. What can you tell us about the Deccan Plateau itself back then? Why was it so important for the Mughals to control it?
The Deccan Plateau, in the late 17th century, it was this incredible mix of political maneuvering and cultural vibrancy. Picture fertile valleys, rugged hills, and these strategic forts, all connected by old trade routes that link the interior of India to the bustling ports on the coast. Whoever controlled the Deccan didn't just control the military. It meant tapping into this network of trade, getting revenue from these rich farmlands, and utilizing the diverse population there.
So it wasn't just about conquering land. It was about controlling this complex system of economics and culture. And for the Marathas, it was about protecting their home, their way of life.
Exactly. The Marathas under Shivaji had carved out a place for themselves, asserting their own identity and challenging the existing power structure. Sambhaji inherited that struggle, that legacy of resistance. His reign, despite its challenges, really shaped the Maratha Empire, and his unyielding spirit, like what we see in CHHAAVA, it still inspires people today.
You've really given us a clear picture of the politics and geography, but what about the cultural impact of Sambhaji's reign? Did he leave a mark beyond the military victories and his defiance?
That's such a good question, and one that often gets overlooked because of the focus on war. Remember, this was a period of intense cultural exchange and development in the Deccan. We don't have as much historical information as we'd like, but there are signs that Sambhaji, like his father, supported the arts and learning. He knew that a strong, independent empire needed more than just a powerful army. It needed a thriving cultural identity.
That's fascinating. It makes you wonder what other parts of Sambhaji's reign are worth exploring more. Maybe this movie, CHHAAVA, will encourage people to do more research and appreciate this period of history.
I hope so. And as we head into the last part of our deep dive, I want to discuss the enduring legacy of figures like Sambhaji Maharaj. Why should we, in the 21st century, care about a ruler who lived and fought over 300 years ago?
That's the perfect transition to the final part of our deep dive. Stay with us because we're about to unpack why Sambhaji Maharaj's story is still important in the world today. Welcome back to the deep dive. We've been exploring the life and times of Chhatrapati Sambhaji Maharaj using the movie CHHAAVA as a starting point to this really fascinating period in history. And I think it's time to ask the big question. Why does this story from centuries ago still matter today?
It's a question worth thinking about. I think one reason Sambhaji Maharaj's story still resonates is because it challenges how we usually view history. For a long time, the history of India, especially under the Mughals, was often told from a very specific perspective, and figures like Sambhaji were kind of pushed to the side.
Yeah, it's like there were these dominant lenses that people looked through, and some stories got magnified while others were minimized or just forgotten. But CHHAAVA and our conversation today are trying to change that.
Exactly. Films like CHHAAVA, even if they're not perfectly accurate historically, can be really powerful tools to bring those forgotten narratives to light. to make people curious and question the versions of history they've always known.
So it's like reclaiming history, giving a voice to those who were silenced or overlooked. But what makes Samhaji's story relevant to people in the 21st century?
Think about the themes we've talked about. Courage, resilience, fighting against impossible odds. These are human experiences that go beyond time and place. Samhaji's unwavering defiance against the Mughals can inspire us to stand up for what we believe in, to fight for what's right, even when the challenges seem insurmountable.
It's that spirit of resistance, that refusal to be controlled. That's what resonates even today. It's a powerful message in a world where we face our own battles, both personal and societal.
Absolutely. And it's not always about grand acts of defiance. It's about the choices we make every day, the values we hold on to, and the impact we have on the world around us. Samhaji's story reminds us that even when facing immense power, individual actions and choices can make a difference.
So if we look at the bigger picture, what does this deep dive into Samhaji Maharaj's world tell us about history itself?
It reminds us that history isn't just facts and dates. It's this living, breathing tapestry of stories, perspectives, and interpretations. And by engaging with those stories, by looking for different viewpoints and challenging the narratives we've been given, we can get a much richer understanding of the past and ultimately of ourselves.
It's about being active participants in how we discover and interpret history.
Exactly. And it's about recognizing that history isn't just something that happened a long time ago. It's all around us, shaping our present and influencing our future.
I think that's a perfect note to end on. We started with a movie review of CHHAAVA, but our deep dive has gone way beyond just the film. We've explored the life and times of Chhatrapati Sambhaji Maharaj, delved into the Mughal Empire, and discovered themes of courage, resilience, and the power of historical narrative.
And most importantly, we've been reminded that history isn't just about the past. It's a conversation that's still going on, and we all have a part in shaping it.
So as we wrap up this deep dive, we'll leave you with the final thought. Go out and explore. Dive into the richness of history. Question the stories you come across, and never stop seeking knowledge and understanding.
Until next time, keep exploring, keep questioning, and remember, history is not just the past.